traders, Tim Paul here, and welcome to the latest episode of the Huddle. I'm with Ollie Lamb, SVP of Risk at Kambi. Ollie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Looking forward to talking all about the World Cup and things a little bit beyond. But easy starter, looking back ahead of the Premier League season as well. How do you reflect on the World Cup as a fan, but maybe more importantly as a trader?
Yeah, as a fan, I always look forward to it every 4 years. It comes around. It's always the best of times, the worst of times in a way. Obviously, England, as ever, as a fan, ended in disappointment, but that's typical. We're used to it by now. But as a sportsbook leader, it was definitely a great tournament for us. We took over 100 million bets, over €1 billion of turnover processed on our turnkey service. Really launched our odds products as well with some partners in a meaningful way. And at the end of the day, got a very strong margin out of it as well. So more than happy, absolutely.
Yeah, some impressive figures that you just mentioned, but Kambi's also kind of talked about since the World Cup, obviously in the Q2 report as well. We'll dive into a few of those figures kind of as we go on in the conversation. But I wanted to start off by asking, beyond the World Cup, this was the first tournament fully traded by AI for Kambi. That's what you guys have been saying. That's what we're hearing. But can you let's dive into it. Explain exactly what that means.
Yeah, no, exactly. So we've been rolling out our AI trading product now for a number of years, really, internally, whereas this was really the first, I guess, true, at-scale stress test. There's nothing quite like a World Cup to see, if something works or doesn't work. And yeah, for the football product, we've been operating with the vast majority of our football for a number of months now, being run entirely by AI. The way that was working would be that, every single match in the tournament was, priced and prices updated and traded by the AI itself. The AI was handling all of the combinability between offers and making all of those kinds of bet by bet decisions. Of course, the humans were still there in terms of making sure we had the correct oversight, our internal expertise, making sure that we were executing our strategy as we expected. But yeah, frankly, all those 100 million bets that were taken, all of that kind of activity was processed and prices updated automatically by the AI trading system.
Yeah, that's a really good breakdown, and this might either come across as a technical question or a very layman question. So apologies either which way. But the way you've described it there makes it very clear. But when it comes to maybe creating new markets, is that an AI element as well, or would that be where the kind of human oversight comes in?
Yeah, it depends on kind of what kind of market you're looking to create. But essentially the AI, the way it would work internally for us, it would understand kind of the core parameters of every game and can then kind of create all the derivative markets automatically based on kind of the price weighting you're putting into it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, we've seen, in live casino, actually, which is obviously different to sportsbook, but within the wider industry, we're seeing kind of fully AI live dealers. And you mentioned how much AI is involved, and the World Cup was fully traded by AI. Are we at the stage already, or will there be a stage where the sportsbook is fully AI traded kind of all year round?
Yeah, we're definitely moving towards that. I mean, say that there's always going to be that, the human expertise element that's required to add on top. But our objective absolutely is that, AI or, every bet, every event should have that kind of AI trading capability put around it. Of course, the current state we're at in the industry, we're reliant as well as on our betting data coming into us, on the live data coming in as well. Not all sports have that. So the way that the AI trading will work in the future, where potentially there's different kinds of data availability, will always differ. But our objective is that kind of that AI trading core that will process the bets, understand them, move the lines, move the prices, will be applied across our entire sportsbook. Our objective is that this should be something that is, achieved in a small number of years, though, rather than kind of a longer time span, the stage we're at.
Yeah, really interesting. On top of what you've just explained there, officially Kambi is undergoing an ongoing transition to an AI-first organization. This is kind of mentioned in Q2 report and literature. What does it mean specifically within the trading department? I mean, an obvious question is how does it affect kind of jobs for humans? But something that's been often said with AI is it doesn't necessarily take the role of the trader away. It just changes kind of what the role is. But what is the main kind of impact?
Yeah, that definitely is. It really is the way of working. AI trading just the same way as using, like we all do nowadays in our work, the kind of the LLMs as well. You still need that human expertise to go in there, but it changes the way that you approach and interact with your work. Absolutely, and that's the same for the traders. Previously there's always been high levels of automation in our sports book and in many sports books as well. We've always had statistical models kind of generating prices, updating them in real time, the live data being pumped in as well. That's there's no secret source there. There's always been a high element of automation, but in the previous kind of pre-AI world, it still required a lot of that kind of manual expertise to make sure we're going to be moving the prices, moving in line where you want to be, checking all the bets were coming in, doing all the peripheral work as well around the sports book that comes with it in terms of settling events, creating new events as well. Whereas the AI now kind of removes the requirement of the kind of human element to be in that kind of more manual, executing orders as such. Now it's more in terms of executing strategy. The traders are there looking at the entire book, making sure that the lines are all moving, not just in line with our expectation, but with our partners as well. With Kambi being B2B, we were providing this sportsbook service across, 60 plus partners, and within that partner subset, hundreds of brands, all with different strategies. And the trader could then, look at the entire piece and make sure not just is it working for Kambi, but is it working individually as well for what the partners want to get out of their World Cup.
I think that's a great description of next evolution, because it is a good point you make that when it comes to sportsbooks, automation and AI, they definitely played a part several years ago. It's not a brand new thing, but this is the next stage of evolution, perhaps, as you say. You mentioned already the 1 billion euros in terms of processing and a trading margin of 18%. So you kind of stole the headline figures that I was going to lead the question with. But beyond that, in kind of any more detail, how do you kind of further reflect on the World Cup as a performance-wise from a betting standpoint?
Yeah, exactly. Underneath those numbers, there's a lot of drivers that kind of get you there to that kind of growth of revenue, but also the margin as well, which is of particular interest to me. What's kind of causing this increase in margin? Is it, as I kind of believe now, I've seen this being worked across our football product for a number of months now, is this kind of a new normal where there's a raised expectation in terms of the margin and what's causing that? Looking into what the World Cup was like for us, a big piece is what's been driving a lot of growth for many sports books in the last couple of years is kind of the in-event combinations, the bet builders, as you may call them, and seeing that in action in the World Cup was it was particularly explicit, I guess, that a lot of the growth came from there. I think in terms of the whole World Cup against the last World Cup, we took twice the number of bets with bet builders, but also particularly in live bet builder, I think it was a 7x growth in the number of bets that were live bets with this kind of bet builder component to them. Previously, it was really quite hard to place those kinds of bet builder bets in play for players, but also to generate the prices as well and to update quickly. Whereas again, the AI trading really allowed us there to get that combinability to be very extensive. And in a World Cup, it's often, as you see as a fan as well, right? It's driven by the personalities, the players as much as the teams. And we were seeing a lot of activity on the big name plays, the Messi, Haaland, Kane, etc., who all delivered as well. Seeing bets on them, not just to score, but for shots to be taken by them, shots on target, anything that they could be doing, and that kind of really helped to insulate the margins too. I mean, as I've said, the Messi, Haaland, Kane, etc., Bellingham, these big name players all delivered. They all scored lots of goals. Likewise, the big teams, the top four teams essentially got to the semi-finals. The favourites won the tournament, and we still come away with an 18% margin. And you look at that and you think a lot of that's driven by that drive towards bet builder, those kind of higher revenue generating products where players, I guess, are placing different kinds of bets now.
Yeah, personally, I think it's no secret to anyone who watches any of my sports betting related interviews that I personally love the bet builder product as well. And I kind of noticed, really interesting you say the in-play bet builders group, because I noticed a greater availability of markets kind of across sports books. But what drives that? Is that maybe just improvements in technology? Is that maybe just experience from the past World Cup? What's the main reason why that has enhanced?
it's just provide more combinability to players. I mean, the AI comes with not quite out of the box a bet builder, but the way it understands the game, the sport, the event at hand, it allows us to much more easily, deploy combinability deeper across the offering, as well as provide more offers in general as well. Previously it would have been quite a mathematical challenge to create bet builder sport by sport. To add new offerings into the bet builder could take quite a bit of quant resource, definitely. Whereas now with the AI, it's definitely eased kind of the evolution of our product to allow greater deepen combinability. And frankly, as we've seen with player activity over the last few years, and the more you give them control over their bets, the more they do this, the more they go deeper into your offering, the more they kind of want to bet, in an unrestricted, limitless way. So if anything, we maybe haven't even seen kind of the peak of this kind of activity, really.
Yeah, really interesting. When it comes to the strategic or maybe geographical breakdown, in the Q2 report, America's partners generated 57% of global network turnover. That's compared to 28% in the last World Cup. Looking kind of ahead, do you expect that to maybe flip back given the time zones and where the World Cup was? Or are we looking at maybe a greater percentage from America's, certainly Latin America, but maybe even more from North America after this World Cup?
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit of both. I mean, definitely the time zone does always have an impact. I mean, this one in particular, a lot of the games kicking off after midnight European time, that made it, especially the earlier part of the tournament, I guess, quite pre-match heavy for European partners. A lot of games taking place, frankly, too late to stay up for. I set the alarm for a Mexico v England game, but there weren't many after 2 a.m. that I did watch myself. And I think that was the same for many players. Whereas absolutely, as you say, I mean, it really did play into kind of the Americas, Latin America and North America especially. And with them being hosts as well, right? They had their local teams largely present there. But yeah, I think the tournament's a really reflection of kind of Kambi's growth over the past few years as well in terms of our geographical spread. We've always had a strong presence since the repeal of PASPA in North America. Canada as well. We even saw the Alberta market launch during the World Cup in the last week of it as well. So that continues to grow, whereas the Latin American story is where we saw the most explosive growth, really, as expected, I would say. They're already, very much into the football product as it is. The Brazilian market, is pretty new since the last World Cup. It's been growing, and we've always had a strong presence in Colombia as well as other markets down there as well. So I think that we expect, the Latin American strength for key tournaments and for football in general for Kambi to always be a strong point.
Looking ahead to the longer term future, certainly throughout this interview, you've already mentioned it several times, kind of becoming more and more AI. It's something the CEO is kind of emphasizing, publicly as well. I think that the benefits are obvious. You outlined them with the results, with the numbers, with the scale. Are there any potential pitfalls? And I'm not necessarily talking about kind of the Matrix or the Terminator or anything like that, which was what everyone talked about when AI first became kind of mainstream. But are there any kind of challenges that you need to navigate as you kind of progress more and more down the AI route?
Yeah, I think the good thing, the way to say, Kambi's been already kind of rolling this out, and we've gone through our kind of testing, birthing phase of it, shall we say, where, the first time we did launch the AI trading, it was like, is this going to work? Who knows? Let's see how it goes. We've been through all those periods. It's been, say, tested, it's fully, managing our football product, as I say now. It's past the World Cup test even.
I was going to follow that up with a question on kind of the roadmap in the kind of near term heading into 2027. I think you addressed that quite well there, but maybe we can zone in a little bit more specifically in terms of the near term. What plans in this area do you have for maybe the Premier League, Champions League, and kind of the big things that the club fans are really excited about?
Yeah, exactly. So now it's kind of the continuation for the football product, definitely. As I say, hopefully we can maintain that kind of engagement that we saw in the World Cup, to kick into the European and global soccer leagues as they start up again later this month. But then also for 2027 going on, it's kind of continued investment really in the AI trading and risk management side of things. Like I said before, just adding in more and more sports, having that benefit from the uplift that we see from the AI trading, and kind of expanding, the offering in line with that. As I think I've said, given just the appetite we see from players to have more props, more combinable betting experiences, in the short term, really, of what we know we're going to go after, it's about that. It's about enabling more combinability, rolling out the AI trading across much more of the product.
And my final question looks a little bit further into the future, and something you said earlier actually ties perfectly into it. You mentioned that we're not necessarily looking at a number of years. We're looking at kind of the AI transition could be a lot quicker than that. But let's say, a roundabout figure of 5 years from now, are we looking at sports trading and the Kambi Sportsbook in particular being kind of unrecognizable from here, or what do we see as the future?
Yeah, I think that's where the 5-year horizons where we do see, the real paradigm shift, I would say, for Kambi at least. I think that's what we're expecting. By that point, we should be, pretty confidently say we'll be AI trading first, absolutely, across our entire domain. But then it's kind of what else does that enable is the key for us. We've already seen internally lots of things that the AI platform could unlock that we need to start then trying to get out into the hands of our partners and ultimately then consumers as well. It's going to really allow us to kind of, break away from the classic sportsbook we've known and seen. I've been in the industry for close to 25 years. It's always been the same sportsbook experience, really. I mean, there's more live betting, there's more combinability. I think, as I say, on the 5-year horizon, it's definitely going to be around whole new experiences being unlocked by this rather than just, more efficient and higher margin trading, definitely.
Yeah, really exciting. It certainly chimes in with personalization, and as you say, I think when I first started here, there was a lot of discussion about has there actually been any innovation within sports betting. I think we've seen a lot in the last few years, but your point holds true that on the front end of the main experience, actually, in 5 years we could be looking at something completely different, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess the key thing for that front end experience to change, we've got to change the back end as well. And that's what we've been working on, really. So, we finish off the back end, we get moving over to the new platform, and then we can really kick on with the front end experience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Ollie, thanks very much for joining us. Good luck for the season ahead to kind of football team you may support, but to Kambi as well. And enjoyed the conversation.
Likewise, Tim. Thank you very much.